And joining us right now is one of our favorites covering the NBA from the worldwide leader in sports, Kendrick Perkins of ESPN, back here on the show. How are you, Kendrick?
What's going on, Rich? Appreciate you having me, man.
Always.
Thanks.
Always. You know that. So I'll give you the floor first. The news on Kawhi Leonard being out, what appears to be significantly, would mean what for the Clippers?
Mean that this series is over in 6. And I hate to say it that way, but I just got to keep it real at all times with you, Rich. Every time I come on your show, look, the Los Angeles Clippers are not going anywhere if they don't have Kawhi Leonard. They especially are not beating the Utah Jazz. I had this series going 7 games anyway, but now it's going 6. I mean, because I don't think Kawhi is coming back. I think it's more serious than what people are saying. And I don't know if Paul George is that Batman that could carry this team and go toe-to-toe with Donovan Mitchell. We all know how Utah plays at home. They're going to come out fired up tonight. Role players are going to play better. Their crowd is going to be electrifying. I just hate it for Kawhi Leonard because he was starting to rise to the occasion and started to show us that Kawhi Leonard Jordan. He had just had one of the best dunks, if not the best dunks in the playoffs. And then here it is, he goes out. It's really bad for the game of basketball, for all the fans, because, in a perfect world, we would like to see the Nets and Clippers in the finals, but it's not going to happen if Kawhi Leonard is injured.
What do you think is happening and wherever the Clippers are in that hotel room in Utah getting ready to play tonight? What does Ty Lue even say to this team, do you think?
Well, I mean, one thing about Ty Lue is that he's not going to shy away from the moment. He's a guy that is going to go out there and he's going to coach his tail off. He's going to preach and say, "Hey, look, next man up. I get it. Paul George, what are you going to do?" He's going to call out Reggie Jackson. He's going to make the adjustments. He's going to put guys in position to be successful. It's on them whether or not they're going to do it. But he's going to have them prepared mentally. He's going to lead the charge. He's not going to shy away from the moment. He's going to tell guys, "Hey, look, nobody's going to feel sorry for us. What you going to do? Who's going to step up?" He's going to challenge those guys.
But even you, a 14-year NBA veteran, Kendrick, and you've been through thick and thin, and you've won one. I mean, you just basically wrapped it up. I mean, you stuck a fork in him, and I think everybody is too. And you could maybe utilize that, but I mean, the players have. It'll be a tough one to believe. It'll be a tough one to buy from the coach, I would think.
It would, Rich, but I'm going to give you a scenario, right?
Please, go for it.
In 2008, 2009, KG got hurt, and we didn't have him for the playoffs. But in our mind, we were saying, "Hey, forget that. We about to go out here and compete." And we actually took the Orlando Magic to 7 games, who they end up winning the Eastern Conference and going to the finals and then getting swept by the Los Angeles Lakers. But at the end of the day, it's about your mentality. It's about having that dog in you. If you ain't got that dog in you, then you got a problem.
Kendrick Perkins, ESPN Hoop Streams co-host, as well as NBA analyst on a host of ESPN programs right here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think Chris Paul's thinking right now? What are you hearing about that, Kendrick?
It's unfortunate, and I don't get it. He's vaccinated.
Right.
I don't understand everything that's going on. I don't know the process. I don't know, if you're vaccinated, how long you have to stay in protocol. The good thing about it for the Suns is that they handled their business early, right? So, I mean, it buys Chris Paul a few days. And he needs the rest anyway, dealing with the injuries in his shoulder, but not being able to be around his teammates, not being able to be in that film room and be that leader and study in that film room, is going to kind of hurt the Suns a little bit, because you have to understand, as remarkable as Chris Paul has been on the court, his leadership is unmatched and is invaluable as far as his leadership, as far as him, you read those stories about how all the guys go to his house to have dinner and watch the games together, and that camaraderie. And at this moment in time, when you're headed into the Western Conference Finals and you're about to possibly face a powerhouse like the Utah Jazz or the Los Angeles Clippers, you need your leader. So hopefully, the Clippers push this to 7 games and it could spare Chris Paul a little bit more time. But it's going to hurt the Suns a little bit. I don't think dramatically. I think they're locked in, but I think overall, you just hate to hear this news because the Suns were vibing so well, and CP3 was on a mission, and he still is on a mission.
I mean, let's be honest, Kendrick. I mean, if as you just, and I think rightfully so, stuck a fork in the Clippers because Kawhi's out for the rest of this series, and then perhaps for a long time after that with an ACL injury, as it's being rumored and reported right now, that we're going to see the Western Conference Finals start sooner rather than later. And if that costs even Chris Paul one game, certainly in Utah, that will hobble the Suns' opportunity to gain home court advantage for themselves now that fans are all back in there. But let's place that aside even for a moment. And I want to pull on that string you just laid out there about Chris not being there in a film room and not there physically with the players and his teammates as they are going through the paces to get ready. What does that look like, a film room in the NBA with somebody like Chris Paul sitting in it? What does that look like?
You just adding another coach, right? So when a film, people don't understand, and this is another conversation that we can have on another time. But when I made the comparison and I said that, people think that it's easy to win an NBA championship. It's not. And I made a comparison for us with football, and football players were telling me how much film room, how much studying they have to do, the playbooks, the film room. Well, when you're in the playoffs, guess what? You having 2-hour film sessions. So as Coach Monty is sitting there talking, and Coach Monty is going through things and saying, hey, we need to do this, you may have a veteran like Chris Paul, because I've done it at times. I may say, well, hey, Coach Monty, you may have Chris Paul say, hey, Coach Monty, I don't know. I don't think we should be in the drop coverage defensively. And now you have an ongoing situation where you have a conversation within the locker room, and now it's like, okay, now Coach Monty is feeling, or Chris Paul may say, hey, I don't think Devin Booker should be guarding Joe Ingles. I think he should be guarding Bogdanovich. And then they have a discussion. This is the things that happen in the film room when you have a leader like Chris Paul that's on the floor. Or Coach Monty may say, well, what we're going to do offensively is I want to do X, Y, and Z. Well, CP3 may say, Coach, well, look, let's do this, but make sure let's tweak this so that we could get Devin Booker this flare on the weak side. Like, all this happens during the course of a film room, especially when you're a leader, the voice of the team is in there. You have back and forth, but it's positive energy because everybody's just trying to get on the same page so they can attack that series or that game like they need to.
Kendrick Perkins of ESPN right here on the Rich Eisen Show. And I know this is kind of maybe an infused way to ask this question, certainly with Durant going off for 49 and 17 and 10, and the Patrick Beverly, Lou Williams soundbite from when Durant got the Clippers a couple years ago about how they couldn't stop him, and they both said, well, he's Kevin Durant. So I know that when I ask this question that I think is fair, though. What are the Bucks missing, Kendrick Perkins? It seems like there's just one extra gear that's missing with this team, or player, or something. What do you see when you look at the Bucks on that front?
I see a dumb team, and I say that respectfully. They're missing an IQ. Like, I'm watching the game last night. One example, okay? Drew Holiday comes down, okay? James Harden is guarding him. He takes him off the dribble and goes to the basket with ease and finishes with a left-hand layup. All right, the next possession down, they get a stop. He comes down the very next play. We all know James Harden didn't look 50% out there last night.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't move. And you know what Drew Holiday does? He pulls up for a jump shot. And I'm watching some of the plays, the careless turnovers by Chris Middleton, and even Giannis, like the shot selection, the timing, like the possessions and value in possessions, and, just some of the shot selection. I'm just like, they're missing the IQ all across the board. I'm watching this talented, athletic team just going out there and play like they're at Rutgers Park. And there's nothing really that a coach could do. It's the players. Like, Bud could put them out there and call plays and put guys in position to be successful. But as a player, if you don't have that basketball IQ, if you don't have that sense of urgency, then it's not going to work. And what we saw yesterday, we saw James Harden and Kevin Durant show their IQ and show how much of a floor generals that they were. They were head and shoulders above the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks are not lacking anything talent-wise. They have everything that they need. It's their minds. And I'm sitting up here saying, like, why did you try to throw that pass? Do you understand this is the playoffs? Do you understand that people study these certain reads and that they bait you into thinking that this pass is open, but it's really not? And I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, they haven't, the Brooklyn Nets haven't stopped the Milwaukee Bucks from getting to the paint at all, but yet they settle for jump shot after jump shot after jump shot, and it's hard to watch.
Well, but Coach Bud comes from, as we all know, Pop tree, and so, you know, what you're saying can't be news to the coaching staff. How do you fix that? How's that fixable?
I don't know. I mean, like, you could drill it. You could go to film room. You could call out certain plays. You could tell them, you cannot do these turnovers. This can't happen. That can't happen. And if they go out there and still do the same thing, it's like, as Coach Bud, you like, what am I supposed to do? If you're trying to tell Giannis, hey, Giannis, how about setting a pick and roll, get a ball up early, go into a quick dribble handoff, roll to the basket. How about this, Giannis? They want you to take jumpers. They want you to make a jump shot. You know why? Because it's the Brooklyn Nets, when Giannis makes a jump shot, watch the Brooklyn Nets bench. They start clapping. You know why? Because it's bait. It's bait. Because they want him to take more jump shots. So if I'm Coach Budenholzer, if I'm Bud, I don't really know what to say except, hey guys, let's go out here and play hard. Let's go out here and hope that we make shots because the IQ is not there.
Love it. I mean, this is why I love having you on, Kendrick. Before I let you go, best of three in with the Sixers and the Hawks. Hawks have a shot here? Do you give them a chance here? What do you think?
They do. I believe it's going 7 games.
Oh, boy.
And here's why. I think, when Philly dropped the ball, not closing out Game 5, Joel Embiid didn't look healthy in that second half. Now, how he comes out in Game 6, they'll be at home. Obviously, the fans will be behind them. The role players will play better. But it goes back to the Milwaukee Bucks point. The Philadelphia 76ers did not play smart basketball in the second half. And guess who they were missing? A guy that probably nobody thought that was that valuable to their team. A 3-time champion that's on the sideline that wasn't there. And that's Danny Green. See, people take veterans, people take leadership for granted. But it is so valuable when you're trying to win a championship that you have a leader, someone that has been through the trenches, someone that is battle-tested, to be on the court so you could value possessions. And that's what I watched out of Philly. So with Danny Green being out, I'm looking at the Hawks and the Sixers, and it's basically like the same thing. It's 2 young teams with a lot of young players that's going back and forth to say, I'm going to outscore you or you go outscore me. Let's see. Because right now, it's no sense of urgency defensively on either part. So what I'm looking at right now, the Hawks have a lot of momentum. The Hawks feeling good about themselves. And I see this series going 7 games. I really do.
I love it. Last one for you, Kendrick. Pacers' job is open, but so is the job to be the coach of Tatum and Jaylen Brown in Boston, Damian Lillard in Portland. You've got now Bradley Beal and Russ in D.C. That job is open. The job to coach Zion and Ingram and Lonzo is open. Which one would you want if you were a head coach and you have an opportunity? And which one would you take? Which is the most?
Well, Rich, I'm not saying this because I'm not being biased. Okay?
No, you're a Celtics. I know.
But I'm going with those 2 young superstars over there in Boston with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Look, one thing about it, is that in today's game, coaches, it's like almost coaches porn to be able to have two guys at the wing position like that. Two guys that could go out there and get you 25 a night, really have zero flaws, and they are under the age of 25. They're locked into contracts. They both could play on the defensive end at a high level, 6'7", one of them 6'10", super athletic, both of them. I mean, and they keep getting better. That's the attractive job. If I'm a coach right now, that's the job that I want to go get, is that Celtics job.
Kendrick, thanks for the time. Look for my call again. Seriously, I really do. You make me smarter, and it's entertaining and informative, and you're terrific. Thanks for the call.
Hey, Rich, thank you, legend. I appreciate you having me, man.
Appreciate it. You got it. That's Kendrick Perkins. I follow him on Twitter. You need to see his real-time commentary. That's for sure. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.